So I once heard someone describe today's Torah reading as the jam-packetest parsha of the year. Now, when I typed that word, the computer rejected it. Kept on correcting it because I guess it's not English. But I still like the word because the descriptive nature of it, jam-packetest, really applies to this week's parsha. Think about it. We have Shema Yisrael, we have V'ahavta, we have the laws pertaining to the study of Torah, we have Tefillin, we have Mezuzah, and we have the 10 Commandments. On top of that, we read a special Haftorah of Shabbat Nachamu, the Shabbat of comfort, its promise of redemption. So it really is jam-packed. There's no other parsha that has these many fundamental, basic ideas of the Jewish people from which we have evolved. But even if it just had the Shema, if that's all was in it, I would still have to say that it is the most jam-packetest parsha because there's no teaching more fundamental to Jewish life than Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. I think we can all agree that the Shema is the best known verse in the entire Torah. It's the watchword of the Jewish people. Long before the 18 blessings of the Amidah, because we have an Amidah, morning, afternoon, evening, every single service. But long before that, the Shema was already instituted to be recited every single day. But not just every day, morning and evening. It was also designated the custom of reciting the Shema a third time before we go to sleep. When our kids were young, I would get into bed with them and we would sing the Shema and the V'ahavta, and there are many, many Jewish parents who do that to this very day. It's the core statement of Judaism, that which binds the parent to the child and to all previous generations. In the Talmud, right, this massive piece of literature that is the basis of the way we live Jewish life today, the very first teaching of the entire Talmud is based, of course it begins with a question, right? It always begins with a question. From which hour in the morning may we recite the Shema? That's the first legal question that the Talmud answers. When can I say the Shema in the morning, that it's still considered morning and not evening? It's something else. The truth is, most Jews think the Shema come from the prayer book. When I was younger, I could tell you, as most conservative Jews who went to shul a lot could, the Shema is found on page 16 and page 92 in the Silverman prayer book. But the truth is, I couldn't have told you that the Shema was found in the book of Deuteronomy in the 5th chapter. I didn't think about it. To me, it was on page 16 and 92 in the prayer book. So if you find yourself ever in a Jewish trivia game, and the question is where the Shema comes from, just remember, take the 5th. It comes from the 5th book of the Torah. If they ask you what chapter, add 1. It's the 6th chapter. If they want to know the verse, subtract 1. It's verse 4. And if you can't remember that, just say page 16 and hope that the judge grew up in a conservative synagogue. The Shema is also well known throughout all of Western culture. How many times have you seen in a movie a Jew reciting the Shema at a critical moment, a moment he thinks or she thinks she's going to die? Right. What's the next word here? Independence Day. See, he's a good moviegoer. In fact, I was watching Independence Day the other week with some of the grandchildren, and the Shema was recited with the children in the movie whose very lives were in danger. It doesn't have to be explained. It's so much part of Western civilization. There's a World War II movie, a German Jew who has successfully hidden for 3 years in Berlin. He comes out of his hiding as the Russians have taken over Berlin. But he doesn't realize they think he's a Nazi. He's on his knees with the Russian soldier pointing a rifle at his head. He survived 3 years. He's about to be killed because they think he's a Nazi, not realizing he was a Jew in hiding. So what does he do? He immediately starts to recite the Shema. The Russian soldier stares at him, lifts up the rifle, pulls him aside, puts him in a safe place, tells him, don't move from here. I'll come back and get you later and take you to safety. Why? That Russian soldier was a Jew. In many movies and books, the dying Jew recites the Shema. It is Western civilization, iconic statement. Rabbi Shlomo Riskin pointed out in an article a while back that being overly familiar with something can lead to actually being underacquainted. In other words, when something is so well known by rote and recited so often, almost in a perfunctory manner, it often happens that you don't really think about what it means. I know that's true because every once in a while I find myself suddenly looking at a particular phrase in a prayer and thinking, wait a second, what does that mean in this context? I've said it hundreds, thousands of times, but suddenly it takes on a different meaning. I'm not sure. I have to examine it. That's a dangerous thing if it happens with a core teaching of Judaism like the Shema. So, for the next few minutes, let's analyze, let's dissect this 6-word statement that almost every Jew in the world can recite and see why it's so significant. We'll do it by taking 2 words at a time. That's the poetic structure of the verse. 6 words, 2 words at a time. That's the rhythm of the verse. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. The first 2 words, Shema Yisrael. First, we have to clarify the word Yisrael, because Yisrael has many meanings in Hebrew. It can refer to the land of Israel. It can refer to the state of Israel. It can refer to the Jewish people as a whole. So, we are B'nai Yisrael. We're the children of Israel, the descendants of Israel, who originally bore the name Jacob. In the case of the Shema, as it appears in Deuteronomy, as it's used in our prayer book, in our liturgy, the word Yisrael refers to the people of Israel. Now, the word Shema itself means to hear. We're being told to be the kind of people who hears, the kind of people who listens, who pay attention to what's going on in the world around us and within us. A Jew can never turn off this hearing aid when it comes to what is happening in the community or the world in which he lives. Because the significance of knowing that there is one God is that we are his creation. If not the creation of the one God, then whose creation? And that one creator made us, his partner in creation, when he gave us knowledge, when he gave us freedom of will, and he gave us a legal system. A Jew has to hear the cry of the poor, the homeless, the oppressed, the cry of injustice. Otherwise, we're not hearing, we're not listening, we're not fulfilling our role as God's partners. So now the next 2 words, Adonai Eloheinu. Eloheinu means our God. So what we have is a statement. Our God is Adonai. Now we have to remember that the word Adonai is just the way the rabbis designated how to refer to the name of God, which is spelled out by the 4 letters, the Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey, and we have no idea how to pronounce it, so we don't even try. We just say Adonai. In fact, we're not even sure what the 4 letters mean. Even the very meaning of the name of God isn't clear. They seem to mean something about the eternity of God. God was, God is, God will be. right? V'hu haya v'hu yeh v'hu yeh b'tifara, right? V'hu haya v'hu aveh v'hu yeh. That's in the Adon Olam, is trying to explain what God's name means. It's another prayer we know perfectly and never really look carefully at the words. So they think that the word Adonai means, the name means something like God is, was, and will be. And so they use the word in Hebrew Adonai, which means Lord or Master. Our God is our Lord and Master, is what the Shema is trying to say. What is implied here, and then made specific at the end of the verse, is that God is the only Lord and Master, because in that period of time, everybody had multiple gods. That means that nothing and no one can be put above God. We should admire great people. We should admire great accomplishments. But it's a mistake when we go from admiration to adoration, to seeing these people of great accomplishments, of great understanding and wisdom, as being objects of adoration. I think the mistake we make in modern culture, particularly in America, is that we go beyond admiring athletes, movie actors, other public and very glamorous people. We go beyond admiring their accomplishments to adoring them. They literally become objects of worship. So that whatever they say, even if they have no idea what they're talking about because it has nothing to do with their profession or their education, suddenly becomes of great, great importance and needs to be listened to. So what the Shema is saying is, for Jews, only God is Adonai. Only God is our Lord and Master. Only God is to be adored. People can be admired, but not elevated above other people. And finally, we get to the last two words, Adonai Echad. It makes explicit what was implied by saying that our God is our master. It makes it clear there can only be one master. But it goes even further when connected to the first four words of the Shema. It says that there is a creator, and then there is purpose to the world, and that purpose is singular. What is that singular purpose? For the Jew, it means a moral and ethical world where goodness wins out. For goodness to win out, sometimes you got to fight. And since there is only one creator, and he has made his creation, humankind, his partner, then our task as Jews becomes very clear: to bring goodness into the world and to fight on the side of goodness. The Shema is telling us that there is an order and a purpose to the world, sometimes very hard to find because it's an imperfect world. Some people cannot really accept the idea that there is a creator at all. They see the world as happenstance, just kind of happened. Things just kind of develop the way they are based upon the laws of nature. So there's a story told about the village atheist. I love Jewish stories. Most stories have what? A village idiot, right? Not Jewish stories. Jewish stories have a village atheist. And the atheist went to the rabbi of the village, the shtetl, and told him the following: I don't believe in God. I can't subscribe to the idea of a divine being who fashioned the world. The rabbi smiled and said, well, you're entitled to your opinion. Come, as long as you are here, let me show you my little home and share some tea with you. The young man caught a glimpse of a beautiful painting in the rabbi's study and asked, Rabbi, tell me, who did that? It's so beautiful. The rabbi smiled and replied, no one. It just kind of happened by itself. The Shema is telling us that the world didn't happen by itself. We didn't just come into being by happenstance. The laws of nature were set in motion by the one God, Adonai Echad, who we call Adonai Eloheinu. And that one God teaches us one other thing, Since we are the handiwork of that one God, then all the diversity in the world is intentional, and all of humanity is God's creation. A person who believes that can never see another human being as less than human. They can see the philosophy or the ideas that they connect to as lesser, but not the person as a human being. We can see the bad things that people could do and the bad philosophies that denigrate other people, that make them less than created in the image of God. We can see those bad things and those bad ideas as inferior, but not people. So these are the ideas that the Shema contain. Very amazing. Does it all in 6 words. And now we understand why we recite the Shema twice a day and before we go to bed. It has to be the guiding principle of every Jew. It has to be in front of us like that mezuzah, which has in the mezuzah, Shema Yisrael. So that we not only recite it 3 times a day, we see it every time we walk in and out of our homes. It's a powerful idea. So we need to concentrate when we say it. We need to remove every obstacle that could distract us from the meaning of those 6 words. And that's why they came up with the idea of covering the eyes, so that we see nothing but those 6 words. The Shema has been called the declaration of faith, but it's more than that. It's a declaration of being, and it's a declaration of meaning. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O people of Israel, our God is our Lord and Master, He and He alone.